Hey guys, this is a good captain, and I'm doing a post Italy slash post USA turn 3. And yeah, a lot of stuff happened just now, and it's important to go over it kind of bit by bit. So first, let's go in chronological order. So first, my attack into Algeria netted a 100% positive result. In other words, I killed everything and I lost nothing. And the odds were in that battle, just to recap, I had 2 infantry and artillery, a tank and a fighter attacking 3 infantry and an artillery. And the odds were at least that I was going to lose these for sure. The question was whether I lose this artillery or not. And it wasn't even a guaranteed win. There was about an 82 or 83% chance of a win there. But I ended up with all my forces intact. So this was a definite W, and I was feeling sorry for my opponents, but then I went on a bike ride, and that's what I do for my cardio. And on that ride, I realized it's actually, for what I thought the American player was going to do, it's not that big a deal. The Americans can just could have brought in, because they didn't, we'll discuss what they did momentarily, but they could just stomp all four of these pieces with relative ease. Morocco, Algeria is now a massive dead zone for the Axis forces. They could have just gotten sucked up in the second wave of American forces coming in. The only reason I did this attack was to protect Rome, and if I didn't do it, then the U.S. player would have a better than even chance of crushing the Italian fleet that's here and potentially invading the capital. With 3 fighters, 2 bombers, the aircraft carrier, and 3 destroyers, it just seemed so feasible to me at the time, especially given the immense damage to the industrial complex. We had 9 hit tokens on that industry. So I was very much focused on protecting Italy, protecting the Mediterranean and Italian fleet, calculating the best way to defend, just to maximize my effectiveness here. What are the costs of sacrificing this transports? How am I going to be able to defend France? And then to a lesser extent, how am I going to recapture, or not to a lesser extent, but then also how do I recapture much of this lost northern territory as possible? And one thing that I missed entirely, and I almost want to say I'm better than this, but because this was a pretty big blunder, and it should have been something I caught and corrected for, because we are using battle calculators. I always use a battle calculator. This is actually my first game where I've heard that anybody doesn't, or is openly like goes out of the way to not use them. But at any rate, here was the error. Notice the American fighter was on this carrier in Sea Zone 3, but it wouldn't have mattered if the British had stayed there. It's totally a viable unit to attack the shipping in the Baltic Sea Zone. So are these bombers, and so are both of these fighters. 1, 2, 3, and then landing on the U.S. carrier 4 if the carrier came up. So the Americans had a potential of 3 fighters and 2 bombers to hit this. This is an argument here almost, just to always play with a partner. If you can. If you play by yourself, you increase the odds of errors like this happening, and this I know from tournament play. And yeah, I made a pretty catastrophic error, at least catastrophic for my Baltic fleet. And there were 2 options that I should have taken. One is reduce. I bought 6 infantry, 2 tanks, and a fighter. I could have easily just did it 1 tank, 5 infantry, and a fighter, and then put a destroyer in here. That would have brought the odds to 50-50. I'm not sure that would have driven off Piloto. He's shown himself to be an aggressive and wily player. Or the other option is to just call it quits and pull both fighters off of this aircraft carrier and let the Americans send the fleet to the bottom, and maybe grab a fighter or 2 in the process. that would have been another option. And I'm sorry to my opponents for not. I mean, one of the things that you hope or you expect from using a battle calculator is what I call immaculate play. In other words, you're always searching for the perfect game when you're playing with battle calculators. So I think really one or both sides should hope that nobody makes a blunder like this, but they can happen, and that's totally fine, because even without battle calculators, these things happen. But yeah, and this is like, I think this is my sixth game, sixth complete game, and I haven't played that many 41 versions as well. So anyway, I'm okay with that. I regret that I won't be able to truly exercise whether this aircraft carrier strategy is a good idea or not. I'll have to reboot that in a future game if I really want to find out if it's viable or not, because I could have built a destroyer. I have to remember that, though. It's a lesson learned. Okay, enough of that nonsense. Yeah, so actually that is all the nonsense. I think I'm going to put a bookmark in it right there. That was the other thing I wanted to say. So the results of this battle, he did send in 3 fighters and 2 bombers. There was an 84% chance of a victory, and not only did he get it, but he only lost 2 fighters, and there was a solid chance of the attacker losing 3 fighters. He only lost 2. This almost comically, nearly perfectly evens up how much IPCs I saved as the Italians. And so I saved up roughly 10 IPCs worth of equipment as the Italians, and then the Americans saved 10 IPCs for that fighter that they didn't lose up there. So yeah, I mean, that pretty much neatly, the dice, I haven't spoken about the dice rolls in a while, but it appears to me round 2 was so bloodless. The first round and this round, the dice have, other than that weird anomaly in Corellia SSR, everything's gone about the way it should have. The excursion by Corporal Clegg down into India was not a guarantee. The 50% chance of success, I think, for that, or at least destroying the other unit. I don't have a calculator in front of me to do it, but otherwise it's been pretty much down the middle. So I'm at a deficit, though, in terms of units lost. That was a massive IPC loss, and I'm now only down to 3 fighters and a bomber. So I feel like I was a half step up, and now I'm probably about even, or even a half step behind the Allies. But it should still be a good game, and I made an error with my battle calculations. It doesn't mean my opponents are complete, are impervious. They might make a mistake as well. I doubt it, but well done strategy, by the way. I mean, this was really an immaculate move to have the British hit the way they did, followed up by capitalizing on that obvious, well, not to me, but obvious to my opponent's error in leaving the Baltic Fleet high and dry like I did. But we'll give it our best. We still got some fight left in us, and we'll see how she goes. Okay.